Welcome to this special Italian wine podcast broadcast. This episode is a recording off Clubhouse, the popular drop-in audio chat. This Clubhouse session was taken from the Wine Business Club and Italian Wine Club. Listen in as wine lovers and experts alike engage in some great conversation on a range of topics in wine. If you enjoy listening, please consider donating through ItalianWinepodcast.com. Any amount helps cover equipment, production, and publication costs. And remember to subscribe and rate our show wherever you tune in.
Hello, everybody. My name's Stevie Kim, and this is the Italian Wine Club on the Clubhouse. It's hard to believe, but today's call is actually our 24th installment of the Ambassador's Corner series on Clubhouse. As you know, the room will be recorded and will be replayed on the Italian Wine podcast. Everyone knows this is very much of an extension of our Italian Wine Ambassadors and Italian Wine podcast. And for all the listeners out there, thank you so much for supporting us. Last year, I didn't realize I was muted. Last year, we've reached 900,000 listens, and that's quite a bit considering that we've started, I believe, 2017. In the entire year, we had 23,000 listens. So significant progress thanks to all of your supporters, and that's not counting Spotify and Himalaya and all of the other channels. So thank you. Thank you so much. 2021 has been very, very fruitful for us, and it's thanks to all of you out there as well. Let's hope that 2022 will also be a very interesting year for all of us and the promotion of Italian wine in general. So thank you so much. We had a small hiatus, so I was saying that this is the 24th episode, and today, of course, we have Laura Donadoni with Elisa. Tomorrow, which is a Thursday, because usually we had a small break, so we're trying to make that up. And tomorrow we have Catherine Stratton with Giulia Monteleone at the same time, 6 p.m. Italian time. Then we'll have Giuseppe Locascio with Angela Maculan and Rob Miller with Diego Corradi of Pra, and then Marsha Ham with Lorenzo Marotti, Stefan Metzner, Clemens Lageder, Julian Farker with Amanda Courtney. So it goes on, and I believe we're booked all the way to March 24th, thanks to, of course, our Clubhouse manager, Laika, and, of course, also our producer. So thank you very much, Joy. So let's just bring on Laura. Ciao, Laura.
Ciao Stevie. Thank you everybody for being here and listening to this successful podcast. Congratulations on the numbers you just said.
I know, it's so exciting. You know, COVID, I know, was very challenging for everyone, but I think it actually it stimulated us and it encouraged us to accelerate. We doubled down on the digital platforms. And of course, one of those was the Italian Wine podcast and Clubhouse. So we have this series now since I guess about 6 months ago, and we're very excited about that. So for those of you, I know most of you know who Laura Donadoni is, but let me just give you a small presentation, and then I'm just going to let her take the floor. So Laura Donadoni, I've met her because she participated in, of course, one of our Vinitaly International Academy courses, and she became the Italian Wine Ambassador. And that was in California. I can't remember. What year was that, Laura?
It was 2016 in San Francisco. Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah, one of the first courses in California, actually. Yeah.
So, of course, you guys all know Laura Donadoni because she is the Italian wine girl, very successful Instagram and, of course, personality. And she's become an author as well recently. Her book is called Come il vino ti cambia la vita. Is that correct?
That's the first book, and it has been translated in English, and it will be released in a couple of months in the US. So
that's exciting. Congratulations to you, Laura.
Thank you.
So she, of course, is a very, very busy lady. So we're very thankful to have her as her host today. And tell us why you've chosen Eliza Dilavanzo as your favorite producer to be interviewed today.
Yeah, Elisa is actually one of the stories I tell in the book we just mentioned. And before meeting her, I met her wines, actually. She focused on Moscato Giallo, and this is what we are talking about in this episode of the podcast, this variety, which to me is been like underestimated for many years in Italy, but also abroad. And what caught my attention in Elisa's story was this fighting she had with the prejudice around Moscato being a feminine variety that gives only dessert wines, very sweet wines, passito wines. And Elisa proved that Moscato Giallo can be a very versatile variety and can produce one of the best Metodo Classico in Italy, which was awarded as best champenoise method, so champagne-like wine in the world a couple of years ago. So she achieved the very excellent point of this wine production with the Moscato Giallo. So she's a fighter. And the story is amazing because she comes from another field. She's not a winemaker from birth, let's say. She has to learn how to do wine, and she chose the wine field to express herself. So it's a very inspiring story. That's why I chose to bring her tonight, and I thank her for being here with us.
Yeah, I think you both also have something in common, right? You both worked for in news channels, right? You were both.
Yeah, she
I
was.
vaguely remember that she did some. She had a career as a journalist as well.
Yeah, she was in the showbiz, but I think she can tell herself she's here with us. But she was in the showbiz till 10 years ago, no, maybe 15 years ago. So she had to pivot her career from the showbiz to the wine. And it wasn't easy for a woman to build the credibility in a world that, is not very easy for women to succeed, let's say, because it's ruled by all the traditions as the world of wine in Italy. So yeah, I was amazed by her determination and their willing to to put herself out for this variety, which is something that reminds her from a childhood and the family tradition, but her family is not part of the wine production. It has never been a tradition for her family to produce wine. So she started from scratch, basically.
So, as you know, we have the tradition because there is an educational, we try to bring some educational value to our podcast as well. So, we are kind of obsessed about learning objectives. So, what are the learning objectives that we should expect from this interview today?
I think we will going to learn how something about Moscato Giallo, which is as I was mentioning before, an underestimated variety. Is one of the Moscato family members. We have 17 different kinds of Moscato in Italy registered in the National Registry, and Moscato Giallo is one of them. It's typical from the northern part of Italy, northern east part of Italy, and tonight we're gonna go to Colli Euganei, so in the Padova province. So we're going to learn something about the variety. We're going to learn how you can start from scratch, building your dream in the wine business, even if you don't belong to this world. So I think inspiration will be a take out of this night, this story. And we're going to learn how you can be a pioneer respecting the tradition of your own territory. So this, dualism between tradition and innovation, we always talk about that in the wine production, but we can learn tonight how Elisa managed to keep an harmonious, say, balance between these two souls of the wine production. So
Okay, great. So I'm just going to grab a drink, and I'm very much looking forward to listening to two inspirational, strong women talk about their stories. So take it away, Laura, and I'll see you towards the end. And if there's any time, I'll come back on for questions.
Okay, thank you so much, Stevie. Thank you.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao. Elisa, are you with us?
Hi, Laura. Hi, everybody. I'm here. I'm very excited, Laura.
I know. You prepared a lot for this chat with us, and I hope you are, in a comfortable situation with a drink. Maybe if you're drinking something, please share what you're drinking. If
Okay.
I don't know if you would like to tell to the people who are listening and don't know you, which was your, beginning in the world of wine. You are from Padova, from Rovigo,
Yeah,
actually.
Rovigo, yes, is not so far away from Padua, but anyway, is in the southern part of the Veneto region. And as you mentioned before, I got to the wine when I was 23 years old. At that time, I used to work in the entertainment business, and as a consequence, I used to travel a lot. That's why it happened very often that I had dinner in very fabulous restaurants all over the world. So I tasted very excellent wine. So I thought I should have deepened my knowledge about wine, and so I decided to take a wine professional course. Indeed, I took ICE, Italian
Okay.
Sommelier
Sommelier.
Association courses, and finally I got the diploma in 2008. In the same year, I also took part of a national wine competition called Charme Sommelier. It was organized by the ICE in partnership with Bisol Winery, and it was then that I met for the first time Gianluca Bisol, who is currently Bisol Winery president. And since that moment, we have always been in touch. And then later, he became my business partner in Maeli.
Yeah, this story is much more complicated than this, but
Of course.
I invite all the people listening to us to maybe read it in the book which is coming out in English in a few months. Come il vino ti cambia la vita, we translated that in how wine can change your life, and we can say that wine changed your life deeply because you chose to come back to your town in order to pursue the wine career after being for several years in the showbiz and having huge opportunities to succeed in that business. So for you, wine was not a plan B. You choose that as a plan A, as your life career, right?
Yes, you are right, Laura. As I mentioned before, in 2008, I just had a diploma as a sommelier, but I didn't have any job really related to wine. So even if I would have started a career in the wine industry, I didn't know, as a matter of fact, where to start from. So I started selling wines because at that time I had a friend of mine who used to work for a wine company, and he was always saying to me, Elisa, why don't you try to sell the wines? And the occasion came when he had an appointment with the owner of a restaurant, but he was sick, and he asked me to take his place. As I went, I of course accepted, and I went to that appointment, and I still remember the date because the owner of the restaurant was looking for wines coming from the northern part of Italy. And as I was listening to him, I said, okay, listen, you have very beautiful wines, but you are missing some particular wines. I mean, the wines coming from autochthonous grape. And so I suggested him to include also autochthonous grapes. And at the end, I was able to place a very great order as my first time. So this was the very beginning of my career as a sales agent, because I didn't have any vineyard, any winery. So I had to start from
So you started out
that.
trying to convince restaurateur or buyers to buy indigenous variety from your region. And why were you so passionate about indigenous variety?
Because I think they are a kind of true expression of our territory. You know, Italy, the richness of Italy in terms of wines is also the great variety that we have. We have about 550 autochthonous grape. So why don't include local wines and autochthonous grapes in a wine list? This is really something that makes the difference and can distinguish Italy from other countries.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I want to read to our followers and listeners a phrase you said during one interview that we did together before for writing my book. You said, "I don't consider myself a pioneer, but rather a champion of Moscato Giallo. I defend it and will always defend it every day with my work. Mine is a love story with a grape that has changed my life, and which I hope will surprise those who have yet to discover it, or even those who in the past have scoffed at Moscato as a lesser wine. Fior d'Arancio and I gave ourselves, Fior d'Arancio and I gave ourselves an opportunity. We grew up together, accepting challenges without quitting our dream." So when was that you understood that Moscato Giallo was your mission in the wine business?
Okay, I want to say first of all that it takes love to love Moscato. I mean, it takes passion to produce Moscato, because if I say Moscato, people are always thinking to a sweet wine with big bubbles, not very elegant. The wine that you use to make toast at weddings, at
Right.
birthday parties, at graduations, etc., etc. But I can guess that there are some versions that really make this stereotyped idea
Yes,
to
this
be
bias.
true.
Yes.
Yeah, to be true. But in the Euganian Hills, things really change, because the yellow muscat from Euganian Hills is something very, very particular. This is due to the kind of a territory that we have. First of all, we have a volcanic soil. The soil is a combination of trachyte, which is the volcanic rock of Euganian Hills, and a combination of a trachyte and marl and silt. The name Maeli comes from the combination of two Italian words, marna e limo, so marl and silt. And so here the yellow muscat has a lot of minerality, it's very elegant, and it's show its great potential to refine through the time. So when you taste yellow muscat from volcanic hills, from Euganian hills, you have a completely different perception of this grape, different from the fixed idea that people have usually toward Moscato.
Yes, because usually is known as a passito style wine, as a dessert wine, but you produce Moscato in a very different ways. Which are the production method you choose for Moscato Giallo?
I really, as I felt in love with this grape, I decided to enhance the shades of yellow muscat through 5 different versions, so that we have the sparkling sweet, the ancestral method, which is a kind of pet nut, the still and dry version, the champenoise, the traditional method brut nature, and then the passito, the rancid wine. But at the very beginning of my project to express all the potential of yellow muscat, people thought I was mad. First of all, because I was like a foreign in the Ugandan Hills, because, as I mentioned before, I come from Rovigo. My family was not involved in the wine industry, and so they thought I was mad, because it made no sense for them that I was so passionate for the yellow muscat. So at the beginning, I was the only person who believed in myself, the only person who trust myself. But I felt that it was right. I was on the right way, because then when I started making the 5 different versions of yellow muscat, these wines, they were appreciated by many people and distributors. So we were able to export our wines in different countries.
And also
Yeah.
internationally, the Moscato Giallo Metodo Classico was awarded best champagne-like, best Metodo Classico in the world, right?
Yes, and it was a very big surprise, Laura, because probably you remember when I told you at the very beginning, I didn't have any courage to share the tasting of this wine with other producers, because when I invited the other producer of the region to taste this wine, they uh, they they
This
acted like they didn't like this wine, so they didn't say anything, and so I was not sure about this wine. I said, my gosh, I am the only person who
who
probably
believes that
who
is
drink.
very good. Yeah.
Yes, and I have to tell you that Champenoise by Yellow Muscat 100% is a hard work, because it's an aromatic grape, and you know that when you have an aromatic profile, when the grape is an aromatic grape, is very there are it's very
Yeah.
difficult
To
to
maintain a
translate.
balance, yes, between the
Of course.
aromaticness and also the acidity is not easy to achieve with the Moscato Giallo. It's not a high acidity grape, so you have to do something in the vineyards to retain acidity, right?
All
Top.
right, acidity and also bitterness, the bitter note that is
Mhm.
always, this is the risk with the bitter note. That's why you have to be kind also with the macerations, for example. That's why we prefer to make prefermentative maceration in order to be able to extract with the cold temperature the aromas.
But not the bitter note, but that's what you want
Correct.
to achieve. Okay, yes. So
Yes.
it's yeah, and you had to learn everything step by step, because I remember you said from the beginning you personally planted the vines in the vineyard, like uprooting the old vines that were there from a previous owner of the vineyard you now own. And then you had to I remember you told me you were guided by phone, by remote phone call, by the
Yeah.
viticulturists and the enologists, and to do what they told you by yourself through the video call. So that was
Yes. Yes.
challenging for you.
Yes, it was like this also because at the beginning we had the vineyards, but we didn't have any winery. So can you
Oh yeah.
imagine? Yes, we had to make the first vintage. We basically we were hosted by another winery. And, we
For
used
the
to
production. Yeah.
for the yes, correct, for the production, so it was not easy. Besides, the enologist, as he married an Argentinian woman and he moved to Argentina, he planned to plant Petit Verdot and Malbec. So he wanted to take off all the vines of yellow muscat. And for sure, I didn't agree. And I prayed every day the president, Massimo, who is
Your
my ex.
partner, yeah, your previous
Yeah,
partner in the business.
yeah,
Yeah.
previous partner to leave a yellow muscat, because where we have the vineyard, that was the right place, the best place to grow yellow muscat, because of the soil. We have a loose soil. You know that yellow muscat is very sensitive to iron, so it prefers loose soils, like for example marley, sandy, and so Pirio White Lands, where we have the vineyards, is the perfect place. But
Yes.
nobody wanting to listen to me. So it was very
because also
difficult.
because at that times it wasn't like fashionable to drink more Moscato Giallo. It was more profitable to plant red varieties, the red international varieties, right? Because we're talking about
Yes.
around 2000, which was the year you started everything, 2000
I started 2010.
and 10.
At that
Okay.
time, Bordolese cut red wines were very trendy, but you know there is also a tradition in the Uganda Hills with the Bordolese cut red wine,
Yeah.
so that we still had Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon, and Carmener. Um, Today, Carmener for me is very important because is really representative of Ugandanese. I would say that the Carmener first appeared in Italy in the Ugandanese in 1830. So it's really
It's a
linked,
traditional variety. Even
of
if it's
course.
an international variety, it's traditional for your territory to be produced
Yes,
there. So, yeah, I understand. And now
yeah.
you do produce mainly Moscato Giallo, but you also have other varieties planted, right?
Yes, of course. For sure, Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon, and Carmener. That's why I make two red wines. One is Riserva di Plus, and one is a kind of, I don't want to say entry level because it's not entry level. I mean, it's not a simple red wine, but it's very complex. We are talking about Rosso Infinito that you know very well, Laura, because
Yes.
when you came visiting me, you had Rosso Infinito with pappardelle with
With the
wild
wild boar,
boar.
yeah.
Yeah,
I remember the wild boar ragu of that pappardelle was incredible and was very local because you told me that the wild boar was caught in the vineyards, right?
of course, they destroyed the vineyards. Basically, they used to eat all the grapes, and it is incredible because when they attacked the grape, you can understand that you have to harvest because they are looking for sweetness, and yes, they can understand the perfect grade of maturation of the grapes.
Yeah, they are enologists, wild enologists.
Wild analogies, wild
Yes.
boar analogists. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Anyway, going back to Moscato Giallo, you were mentioning that one of the best soil for Moscato Giallo is a high lime and chalk content soil. But
Yeah.
this is also a challenge for Moscato Giallo because it's susceptible to chlorosis and other, disease, right? So I wanted
It
to
is.
ask you which are the challenges in terms of disease and management in the vineyard for this variety.
You're right, Laura. He is very sensitive to the lackness of magnesium and iron. So it's very important to make this kind of fertilization with magnesium and iron. And but anyway, in vineyards we practice organic viticulture and
Okay.
sustainable practices, basically, and we turned to biological viticulture in 2017. So 2020 is the first vintage we
Vintage.
got the certification. Yes, with a certification. Okay, and
That's
it
great.
makes sense to be biological, to be very respectful of nature in the Ugandan Hills, because we are inside the regional park. It was established in 1989 just to protect the flora and the fauna. You know that Ugandan Hills is a incredible example of biodiversity. You can find the 54% of the Mediterranean flora and fauna in this concentrating in this small land. So it's
Absolutely.
incredible.
Wow, that's incredible,
Yeah.
really. And you also have, Maeli has an hospitality building in the close to the cellar and the vineyard, right? So you do also some enoturism in
Yes,
the
yes. I would say that I spent all my whole day in Maeli because I switch from vineyards to hospitality, as we have only 2 rooms. But for sure, from the first time we were after the pandemic, we used to host people every day, and the house is open 7 day a week. We are always ready to make wine tasting and a lot of
yeah.
activities connected to the wine.
I witnessed some of your activities last summer, and you do also cultural events. And I like that you involve the most the local producers of cheeses, charcuterie, bread, and even oysters. Last time I was in Maeli, we had a beautiful tasting pairing your Moscato with a local oyster from the Po River.
Yes, yes, it was from the regional park of Delta del Po. Oh, yes,
Right.
you're right. Because it's very important to find synergies with local producer of my area, and the occasion to cooperating with them came with Maeli Stappa l'Arte, which was a kind of event taking place every week, in
Yeah, that
which
means Maeli Uncork Art. We can
yes.
translate it like this, right?
Thank you, Laura, for your support. And I invited actors, comedians, musicians to perform in front of the winery, and the wine was always how to see um,
Yeah, I
the
see.
instrument from the glass to the territory, to discover the territory and to discover other places.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
like this concept of seeing the wine as the mean to discover the territory. So it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And I think it's something that we have to work on for the future of Italy in terms of tourism and also economics, because it's our richness.
of
So
course.
I enjoy so much your events. And the last question I want to discuss with you, and then maybe if we have questions from the listeners, we can take them. I wanted to ask you how it has been your parkour in the wine business, your growth in the wine business as a woman. If you had like to fight more challenges, and which are the hardest to fight, and which is the road to succeed for we women in the wine business, in your opinion?
Okay, it's a good question. Yes, as I mentioned before, it was very difficult to me at the beginning that people can trust me, because I was like a foreign, but also because I had this idea about yellow muscat, which was very original, I would say. And then also because I was a woman, and this is the wine industry is still a context where the women,
I've not
the
taken so
number,
seriously, yeah, at the beginning,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. So the only way, in my opinion, is to be practic to how to
Mm.
say, not only words, but you
Facts.
should be
You want to
fact.
prove
Yeah,
with facts. Okay.
yes, this is the only way. But I am sensitive to this argument, I would say, and my team is made by 5 women, so
Mm.
this is a proof that I really trust in women intelligent and in women how to say talent, and that's why I decided to be surrounded by women. We are strong together.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah, I agree with you on this. Okay, I think we can take some question if anybody wanna intervene or have doubts, curiosities.
Okay,
I,
this is thank you so much. If anybody has a question, please raise your hand and we'll bring you up onto the stage for Elisa or Laura. Thank you so much for doing that. In the meantime, I have a kind of a personal question for Elisa. When this is, it doesn't really have to do with wine necessarily, but when did you know in your career that you wanted to, I guess, quote unquote, pivot? Like what was the sign? You know, because I think a lot of us have that kind of question in mind, regardless of your age, right? So when did you realize that you wanted to change your career and go into wine? What was the trigger?
Um, it happened when I got the diploma of a sommelier, and I started. Uh, it was a kind of feeling. I was not satisfied. I had this feeling that I have to follow the way of the wine, and so that I quitted my precedent job in television, and I decided to dedicate to my life. But it was just also because I wanted to come back to nature, um, and to nature, to something where I feel they were my roots. Okay, and in Baone, when I was a little girl, I used to spend time in Baone, which is the town where I have the winery and the vineyard, and so this is was kind of sign. As I grew up, I even if I had different jobs. I understood that should uh, I should have come back to nature.
Okay, great. Because I think, you know, especially during COVID, and a lot of us started with remote working, although our offices were actually open mostly. But I know a lot of many professionals, even wine professionals, um, are questioning what they want to do with their lives, you know? So I think it is very interesting that you have made that decision earlier, and it could be interesting for all of us to take
But
some.
also, I think that it happened that I realized that I wanted to dedicate my life to the wine when I started working for Maeli, and I was so happy that I used to work 18 hours a day, really. But I, how to say, I didn't know. I, I I was so involved, so enthusiastic about all the what was happening to me, that I didn't feel tired. I didn't feel tired. I wanted to learn more and more about the wine. So this was another moment where I realized that this was the right way for me, and I had to go ahead with the project.
Okay, great. Well, we're certainly happy that you've made that decision. I'm sorry, like I know I cut you off before. Did you have a question for Elisa or Laura?
yes, I actually have a question for Elisa. Because your story is really inspiring. I'm really curious to know that when you were starting as a winemaker, in the past. Do you have an inspiration, like a winemaker you inspire to be, and why?
Okay, it's a good question. No, at that time I was not, I didn't have inspiration because when you decide to go to deepen your knowledge about yellow muscat, if I have to think about yellow muscat in general, I have an idea about Moscato Dusty, for example. And in Moscato Dusty, there is a producer I like it very much, which is Cadgal, and who makes Moscato aging through the time. That was inspiring for me at the beginning because I thought the yellow muscat could had the potential to refine through the time, but nobody thought the same. That's why usually Moscato in general is drink as a young wine. But I understood that there was a potential for make it aging.
Thank you so much. That's really amazing.
Thank
So,
you.
Elisa, I have another question for you. Of course,
Yeah.
I can ask you 100 questions, but during the pandemic, how did you live pandemic? And what are your plans for this year? Because this is our year 3 now of pandemic years. You
Yes.
as a small winemaker, how has this changed your life in terms of winemaking or your strategy, your business strategy as a wine businesswoman?
Yeah, I have to say that I was very affected. I was affected since the very beginning because if you remember, the first person who died for COVID, it was from Voiugano, which is 5 minutes away from the vineyards and the
Oh my God,
winery.
I didn't realize that.
Yes, yes. So I remember we everything was closed. Also the cellar we had in Voiugane, so we couldn't bottling any wine. We couldn't go on with our job, our work. But I felt that I had to react. So it was March, the 8th of March, when we Maeli was the first winery to make a video tasting,
Is
and
that right?
yes, yes, yeah.
And how did you do
I,
that? Did you do it with Zoom? Because,
of
prior to
course,
pandemic. Yeah, okay.
yes, because we still have the e-commerce in our website, but I thought, how can we share the tasting with the wine lovers? So I thought that we could share the tasting thanks to Zoom or some other platform where we can meet, and so we started making video tasting. And I still remember there were two. Um there was a man and woman. They were married, and they asked me for a video tasting the day of the anniversary of their wedding, and it was very exciting. It was also romantic because we shared together a lot of memories together with all the impressions about the wines. Very interesting. And then also during the summer, I decided that the winery, um, the I decided to uh, the winery like to be a kind of a container of different experiences. We were talking with Laura before. I organized so many different events where the tasting was always the wine was always the protagonist, but the tasting were so different. I mean, sometimes when you have people and you want to explain the wine, you are always didactic. You make always didactic. For me, the wine is full of emotions, and emotions can come out, can be carried out by music, for example. That's why we for the last summer we had the matinee taking place every Sunday in the morning, where musicians used to manage a kind of wine tasting, and it was very interesting because there was this combination between the wine and the music. But I also invited a comedian, and they gave us a different point of view of the wine. So wine can be also very funny.
And so how do you see 2022 from all the experiences and then lessons that you've learned from the past couple of years? What is your plan for 2022, the new year?
I think it's very important to go on with hospitality and with the winery to be the kind of container of different experience. We had a lot of people coming from all the region to join the wines, but also they came, in my opinion, to Maeli to join the wine in a different way. And this is very important to involve people in the wine, not only from your personal point of view, but to make themselves find their personal key to the wine, the personal link to the wine.
Okay.
And then wine is the kind of storyteller. The wine can bring you through the territories to discover a lot of things of a culture, of a territory, discover everything about a territory. This is what I mean for wine, like to be like a storyteller.
Okay, that's grand. Laika just pinged me on WhatsApp and said she would like to ask another question. So Laika, take it away. Because nobody else, I mean, I actually had one person raise their hand, but I couldn't bring them up for some reason. So go ahead.
Okay, so yeah, in the context of Moscato Giallo, as you have really championed this grape variety in your winemaking style, I'd like to ask, what have you learned about the changing consumer taste in wine for this particular grape variety? Are you developing better wines to adapt to the consumer taste, or are you keeping the traditions for this winemaking? Thank you.
Thank you, Laika. Well, I've met so many different wine lovers till now, but I can tell you that they always have curiosity about the wine. So I have the proof that when you are able to communicate a new style, new wines, or wines coming from different territories, they are always curious. In my opinion, it is important to take both tradition and innovation together. I try to do this with my particular job about yellow muscat, in particular the Fior d'Arancio, which is the sparkling sweet. I mean, you know that even as it is a sparkling sweet wine, it is supposed to be matched to dessert in general, cakes or biscuits. I've always I'm always pushing different pairing with this kind of sparkling sweet wine. For example, if you come to visit, if you come to Maeli and you want to have a glass of sparkling wine, the sweet one, I mean, I used to match to a kind of soft cheese or mortadella or creamly stock of fish. So this is something that people really like because is unusual pairing. Is not just sweet with sweet, but there is a kind of a combination between the sweetness of the wine and the salty and the salinity of the appetizer, for example. This is possible with the sparkling sweet, the Fior d'Arancio, because thanks to the volcanic soil, we have on one hand the sweetness, on the other hand, the salinity coming from the soil. So at the beginning is sweet, in the end is salty. As a consequence, this is not just a dessert wine, but it's more like an aperitif wine. So this is innovation. But at the same time, when I make a kind of a pet nut, I'm supposed to make a kind of natural wine. I turn back to the past because you know that ancestral method is a kind of a vinification which was used in the past. So you have to bottle the wines with the yeasts inside, and then secondary fermentation takes place inside the bottle. You have to bottle that wine when the moon goes down. So there is kind of returning to nature, which come from the past.
Okay, that's grand. Thank you so much, Elisa. I just want to, before I close, I
Thank
want
you.
to thank Elisa. And Laura, would you like to conclude? Any last words?
Yeah, I think that we had so much on the table tonight, from women, gender parity to the determination of Elisa to Moscato Giallo. So I think it's really it has been a really delightful chat with Elisa, and also inspiring. So thank you, Stevie and Laika, also for the last question that were really enlightening for very many reasons. So I don't have anything to add unless there is some question from the audience.
I think we're going to close because we're at the end of the hour,
okay.
and everyone's
Okay.
going home here right now, or surrounding me. So thank you so much. And I see Margarita in the audience. We are going to close as usual with her sigla. It's her. She made this up. Not kidding. And don't forget to join us tomorrow with your friend and colleague Catherine Stratton and Giulia Montelone. Grazie mille, arrivederci, ciao ragazzi.
Thank you, Stevie. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Laika.
Ciao.
Thank you.
Ciao, Margherita.
Bye-bye.
Swirl, sniff, sip.
Listen to the Italian Wine Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We're on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Himalaya FM, and more. Don't forget to subscribe and rate the show. If you enjoy listening, please consider donating through ItalianWinePodcast.com. Any amount helps cover equipment, production, and publication costs. Until next time, cin cin.
Hi everybody! Italian Wine Podcast celebrates its 4th anniversary this year, and we all love the great content they put out every day. Cin Cin with Italian wine people has become a big part of our day, and the team in Verona needs to feel our love. Producing the show is not easy, folks. Herding all those hosts, getting the interviews, dropping the Clubhouse recordings, not to mention editing all the material. Let's give them a tangible fan hug with a contribution to all their costs. Head to ItalianWinePodcast.com and click donate to show your love.